The wind howled across the empty mountain road as Ethan Hale tightened his coat and stepped out of his truck. Snowflakes drifted sideways, tapping against the windshield like frantic fingers. He had come out here to gather firewood for the night, but something felt wrong, an uneasiness that crawled under his skin. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, waited in the warm truck behind him, humming softly to herself, unaware of the shadows shifting in the storm. Ethan grabbed an axe from the back and began walking toward the tree line. That was when he heard it, a faint, broken whine. Not the wind, something alive. He froze, trying to listen more carefully. Another sound followed, sharper this time, a muffled bark strangled by distance and fear. He dropped the axe immediately. Without thinking, he trudged forward through knee-deep snow. His breath clouded the air as he pushed branches aside, his boots crunching loudly in the winter silence. The noise came again, closer now. A dog, but not just any dog. It sounded trained, disciplined, trying desperately to hold itself together. He followed the sound until he reached a small clearing and his heart stopped. There on the ground lay a woman, half buried in snow, her hands tied behind her back, her uniform torn and frozen stiff. Beside her was a large German shepherd, also bound with rope around its muzzle. Struggling to reach her but collapsing from exhaustion, Ethan dropped to his knees. Oh my God. Hey, can you hear me? The woman's eyelids fluttered weakly. Her lips were blue, her breathing ragged. Help, please, she whispered, barely audible. He pulled out his pocket knife, cutting the ropes from her wrists first, then from around the dog's muzzle. The shepherd immediately nuzzled her, whimpering but too weak to stand. Stay with me, Ethan urged. I've got you. He lifted her as gently as he could, shocked by how cold her body felt through her uniform. She wasn't just freezing, she was fading. He whistled for the dog to follow, but the shepherd staggered and fell. Ethan knew he couldn't carry both at once. He set the officer down for a moment, pulled the dog into his arms, and draped it across his shoulders. Then he lifted the woman again, cradling her against his chest. His legs trembled under the weight, but there was no time to think. Lily was still waiting in the truck. He pushed through the trees, snow biting at his face as he hurried back. When he reached the truck, Lily's eyes widened in shock. Daddy, what happened? Move to the back seat, sweetheart, he said quickly. She's hurt. We have to help her. Lily scrambled back as Ethan laid the officer across the seat and wrapped her in his thickest blanket. The dog collapsed on the floorboard, its breathing shallow but steady. Ethan turned the heat to full blast and reached toward the officer's face. Hey, stay awake for me. What's your name? She blinked slowly. Officer Mara Blake. K-9 unit, Bravo team. What happened to you? She swallowed hard, her voice cracking. Ambushed. 3 men. They were armed. Took our vehicle. Left us here. Ethan clenched his jaw. You're safe now. I'm taking you to the ranger station. Her eyes widened suddenly, fear cutting through her exhaustion. No, they said they'd be back. Finish the job. Lily gasped softly. Ethan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He didn't know who these men were, but he wasn't about to let them find her again. He drove through the storm, but the roads were nearly invisible. He could barely see 5 feet ahead. The officer's breathing grew uneven, drifting in and out. The dog let out a low cry, nudging her hand. Lily reached forward and placed her small hand on the woman's arm. Don't worry. My daddy always helps people. You're gonna be okay. Those words seemed to anchor the officer, keeping her conscious a little longer. Ethan spotted headlights behind them, bright, too bright, moving too fast for a night like this. His stomach dropped. 2 beams cutting through the storm like knives. Hold on, he muttered. He turned sharply onto a narrow logging trail. Snow sprayed behind the truck as he accelerated. The headlights swerved, following. Daddy, they're coming, Lily cried. Mara tried to sit up but winced in pain. It's them. Don't stop. I'm not planning on it, Ethan said. He knew these back roads like the lines on his palms. He'd hunted, camped, lived around them his entire life. The men chasing them didn't have that advantage. He turned again, tires skidding. The pursuing vehicle tried to follow, but the trail curved sharply around a frozen ditch. Ethan braced them for impact, but the truck behind them swerved too wide. Its tires slid across ice, the vehicle spun, and then silence. The headlights behind them disappeared. Ethan didn't slow down until he reached the ranger station. Snow had piled high against the walls, but lights glowed warmly inside. He jumped out and carried Mara in his arms as Lily followed with the dog. Rangers rushed to help. Within seconds, blankets, medical kits, and radios filled the room. As they treated Mara, she reached out a trembling hand and grabbed Ethan's. "You saved my life. And my partner's." Ethan shook his head. "Anyone would have done the same." "Not everyone," she whispered. "You didn't hesitate. Even with a child in the truck, you risked everything." Lily stepped closer, hugging the shepherd gently as it rested its head in her lap. "We couldn't leave you," she said softly. Tears filled Mara's eyes, warm tears, alive tears after so many hours of cold. Hours later, when deputies arrived and the danger was over, Mara asked Ethan a question he didn't expect. "Why did you help us?" He looked at Lily, brushing her hair from her face. "Because when you've lost as much as we have, you don't leave anyone behind in the snow." Mara nodded slowly, understanding more than he said. She squeezed his hand, her voice thick. "You didn't just save us. You gave me a reason to believe in people again." The storm outside finally began to dissolve, and morning light crept across the white landscape. In that quiet moment, surrounded by warmth, the three of them, man, officer, and child, felt something unspoken but real, a connection born from fear, courage, and kindness in a world where all three were rare. And as the first sunbeam touched Mara's face, she exhaled shakily, knowing the truth. What that single dad did for her and her canine partner would stay with her for the rest of her life, because sometimes the people who save you are the ones who are hurting too. And sometimes the coldest nights bring the warmest miracles.